All right, hey traders, TG Watkins here. How's everyone doing out there today? So we've had a pretty good run up in the market, and wanted to show you guys something that if you come over to Profit Pilot over on Twitter, or X, I guess formerly known as Twitter, you can see on October 6th, this is when I said, did the market just bottom? And I said the Moxie indicator likes it. Thanks, Mirza. And going back, if we actually look at the 6th, let me come back over here. What day was that? Right there. So that was the 6th, that was Friday, and that was the beginning of this last run that we had. So yeah, we were able to see that on October 6th, posted that, and we were looking at a few things. We finally got that divergence that I was looking for. You could see that right in through here. So we had price lower, we had the Moxie indicator higher, there was your divergence, and we had the Moxie price trigger happen right at that time. So pretty fun to see that. These are some of the things that I'm going to be talking about when we actually are in Orlando. So we have a couple things that we can talk about. So we have the Money Show, which is going to be well, both of our things are going to be in Orlando. This one is going to be the 29th, 30th, and 31st. Yeah, there you go. It's up there at the top. So I've got a 45-minute session on that Monday, and then on Tuesday we have kind of a board panel, and then we have, let's come over here, Simpler Trading. We have our own summit, and we're going to be doing this for Simpler Trading subscribers. So anybody who wants to come out and see us, that's going to be a great time. This will be really fun because it's going to be kind of a tight-knit group. We're going to actually get to really meet everybody. It'll be great to put some faces with some screen names and see who's who. As far as these screen names go, we'll have to see who are the real characters out there. But definitely would be great seeing you guys. Make sure you get your tickets, and look forward to really meeting everybody. It's been a long time since we've had one of these, and definitely since I've been able to be out there. Let's see. FOMO Watkins, the market stole your patented hextuple head fake jump shot. Nice. So we might be able to see that if we come down here, maybe on the 15-minute, or do we need to go down even lower on some of the day trading timeframes? Yeah, look at that. There's quite a bit. Yeah, quite a bit. Now, FOMO, as far as this goes, remember, we've been looking at this. I always take even if I'm day trading or teaching that, I like to look at the overall context. We need to look at the higher time frames and see what's going on. And that is why, so FOMO, even if you're noticing that today was a pretty jumpy day, well, let's look at the internals, and let's also look at what the daily and hourly chart is doing, because, hey, in the Moxie room, we were able to guide you guys and say, yesterday was probably a pretty good day, and I expect today's going to be a pullback. And I think today is actually a transition day on our way back down into what's going to hopefully be support, but we don't know that yet. We're going to have to just wait and watch. The other thing that I'll point out is, if you look here, what did we get yesterday on the 5-minute? That was a pretty clear Moxie price trigger on the way down. And then what you can see is any of these bounces, look where the Moxie indicator was. It was telling us that this was not ready to go, that these were inverse trampoline moves, that price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator was below 0, and it was pretty darn clear telling us that. The other thing we could look at, let's kind of slide over here on the 2-minute because I'm seeing some good stuff here. Notice FOMO, we had a 5,250 even on the 2-minute, and that worked out very nicely. You could see right there we had a 2-minute Moxie price trigger, just like we also had a 2-minute Moxie price trigger here. So we've had some really good moves that if you guys have the Moxie indicator, and this is the latest version. Now, all of you guys have it who have been in the Moxie group. This is the latest version. It's been out for a few months, but you can see that we have the Moxie price triggers on the 2-minute, the 5-minute. And so that really helps look at these things. I mean, look at it. Those were some pretty good setups over the last couple days on the 2-minute SPY. We can even look at this and just say it's been a jumbled mess in through here on the 2-minute. We understand context was telling us, hey, probably unlikely that today's going to be a strong day up or down. And then you could also see that we now are starting to get the 2-minute below, the 2-minute 50 below the 2-minute 200. Which is telling us that the trend is not up, and things are definitely starting to wear out here. Let's see, FOMO, you're looking for a pullback today. You just stuck with your original trade. You're pretty good. Instead, pretty much even. Yeah, I think you just need to have a little bit of patience. You got to think about the SPY, the stock market, as a pretty big ship. Now smaller stocks, they can move a little bit quicker, but something like this with the SPY, yeah, it's going to take some time. And honestly, we really did have a, a pretty good couple of days, and we were able to catch this. So we took a few trades. This worked out nicely, and you know here we are. We're up a couple days. It's most likely not just going to come straight down like that. There's going to be a transition point, and then we'll come down and we'll see how that goes. It's the same kind of transition thing that we were talking about. Oh, I think it was yesterday in the live session. So, FOMO, I didn't see you comment or anything, so I didn't know if you were in the room. But last week, we had some really big down days, as far as the internals go. And then Thursday, what was this? Maybe Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I think that's what that was. Whatever day, yeah, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever days these were, you can see that we had a transition period as far as the internals. They weren't negative. They were trying to go positive, but this was the market trying to hammer out a low and actually start to change directions. And then you can see that we had some pretty good up days right there. So I would argue, what does today look like? Today looks like another transition day. And given what I'm looking at the higher time frames, and I'm looking for a pullback in through here, looks like you are too, then I would say as long as your trade duration is long enough, then I would say just hang on to it, and I think we're going to get what you're looking for. So yeah, we should see the market start to move down a bit. So yeah, and then if we look at that daily chart, hourly chart, you guys know the patterns. We're looking for price to, I don't know, probably come back down to around here or so. Now I know I see we got quite a few faces. A lot of people subscribed over at YouTube and Facebook. So if you guys have any kind of questions, if the market's been making you kind of scratch your head as to what's going on, that's what we're here to help answer. So let me know if you guys have anything you're looking at and any particular questions about the market. So that being said, if we also look at this, we just barely had some divergence right there, just barely. I'm looking for a little bit more. The next thing that we get, most likely, is going to be either price bouncing off the hourly 50 perfectly, or if it dips below it and comes up like that, that most likely is going to be a trampoline move on the hourly time frame. So FOMO, if you look at this on the hourly chart for the SPY, take a look at AMD. This is one of those tickers that I talked about just the other week, last week, and you can see it's the same thing. Look what it did, and it only took a day, basically. Well, maybe 2 days. If you look at the 15-minute time frame, yeah, let's do that so we can see. So there's 1 day, and there's 2 days. 2-day pullback, and then it was back onto the long side. So these little pullbacks, they don't have to take forever to happen. They just do their thing, they find support, and then if that works, they go back up. And so, yeah, if you can see here, there was a bit of a transition day right there, AMD, and then came right back to the 50 and then right back up. So, yeah, some pretty good stuff going on out and through here. So, real excited about it. The market is starting to behave a little bit better. I mean, we were going pulling back for about 2 months. The end of July, let me kind of bring up let's come over here. Oh, no, that one we want. Not that one either. There we go. So if we come over here and we look at, always got to keep logging in. Feels like they've changed this to where they don't keep you logged in for more than a day. So yeah, we can look at this and you can see that where was the peak? Right in through here. So that hopefully also marks the low when we get a peak on kind of like that flush out, right? And that was on the 4th. And so October 4th, and then we started to get that recovery, and that was also pretty much the low in new highs. And since then, new lows have been going down, new highs have been going up. This is what we want to see if we're going to continue to see a stronger uptrending market over the course of time. You can see that there were, kind of things like that, and that happened to be a low. Same thing here, a peak, that was the low. We had another peak right there, and that was the low. And we had these big peaks back here, and that was the low. So going to be very interesting to keep watching that and making sure that this works out the way we need it. And then we can also see here, looking at the 20-day and the 50-day breadth, you can see those were the lows, and we had right there, look at that, we had a pretty big low on this one and then just turned right back around. So that's what we're looking at. Things got really pretty bearish to the downside, and I think more people we're getting just, people started throwing the towel and all that kind of stuff, and of course the ship has to right itself, usually in the opposite direction. All right, so was it Barilla? If we look at let's look at TNX, and the only thing I can say in through here is that at least recently the TNX got a little overbought. So I can't say totally if this means that they're going to start rolling over and pulling back in a big way. I'm just saying we can look at this and say objectively, it got to an area where price tends to pull back. This was a pretty big move over the last several weeks. Higher for longer, right? That's the whole narrative. But if you also look at the trend of TNX, what happens when it gets outside of that third ATR? It gets outside of that third ATR and outside. You do tend to get pullbacks. Now we'll have to see how much of one, but so far, there's the 50. This was at least the 30, and there was the 50. So it's going to be interesting to see where this one actually wants to go as far as these pullbacks. Now, the TNX pulling back would be good for the market. The market is not enjoying these higher interest rates, and it doesn't enjoy what it thinks that the Fed is going to do and all the higher for longer type situation. And we can also come over here to the daily and the hourly, and you want to talk about, here's some more Moxie price triggers. This one was maybe just a hair late, but it's firing today. So, there you go. You can also see that we had some pretty extreme moves up here. The TNX had been running outside of that third ATR for several days. And as I said, it can push for a little bit, but at some point they're going to come in from that because it's just too much. You can see third ATR, and even third ATR. I mean, I love the third ATR. Really works well for me. So we have that, and then also I was noticing that the dollar, because the Dixie and the TNX are kind of both putting pressure on the market, and we can see the same thing. If you look at the dollar, this had been doing a really nice job, kind of just scooting along here, not quite hitting the third ATR, but look what it did last week. It jumped up and hit that third ATR, and that was kind of the thing where it went up there and it rang the bell, and then pulled back. And once again, Moxie price trigger right on cue. Right on cue. So if you guys don't have the Moxie indicator, I'm telling you, it works really well. This is the thing that as I've been developing, it really helped me make the kind of trades that I do. And in 2020, going into 2021, almost 800% gains in about 4 or 5 months. So it's pretty fantastic. That was a great time. Let's see. So Andy, yeah, you're using Fibonacci time ratios and time extensions. Let's see. When to use one over the other, and on both, what ratios or levels are the main or key marks that you have to look for? I don't think I use the time ones very much. I use pretty much just Fibonacci retracements. So let's see if I can show anything right here. Actually, you know what? I was using, let's see, the NASDAQ, I think, had some pretty good ones. And if we go back over here on the weekly chart, we can show some of these. Let's see, do I have any saved? Not quite. Okay, well, I think if we come here, maybe it was the IWM. I'm trying to think, some of these had some really good levels. There you go. So check this out as far as this goes. So from the lower, so COVID lows to COVID highs, look what the IWM did. It basically pulled back into its 50% retracement. So I think that's what it was. That's what I was looking at. The NASDAQ, I was trying to think different levels. So the NASDAQ, I think, did the same thing. If we go from COVID low to COVID high, you could see that the NASDAQ then did a 618 retracement. So these are mostly the Fibonacci levels that I use. I don't use too much with the time extensions or time ratios. It's just kind of something that's not on my radar. But you might be interested if you're starting to dabble around with Fibonacci's. You might want to look at these retracements and extensions this way, because these I find to be pretty powerful. You have the 61.8, the 50%, and then on the upside it's the the 1272 and the 161.8. You just have to reverse these the other direction. So let's just say if you go the other direction, then you can get those extensions up here. Oh, nice. FOMO. So yeah, the Moxie indicator has been game changer for day trading. Fantastic. Love to hear that. Glad that's been working out for you, especially over the last, I don't know, 2 years when this market has kind of been a bit of a mess, yeah, day trading has really been the way. And I would argue that, Andy, if you're using Fibonacci's and stuff, like I'm looking at this market, I think we're actually going to get a continuation to the upside. This really does not look too bad. We got a little overbought in through here, and if you look at the Nasdaq, this has been holding up quite well. In fact, if you compare it to the SPY, the Nasdaq actually has been holding up pretty well. I would almost argue that that's a double bottom compared to what the SPY has been doing. You look at this, zoom in on that. The SPY actually made lower lows. So yeah, the Nasdaq has pretty good relative strength. So yeah, interesting. And then tomorrow, let's see, XSD, XSD. Those are all letters, all in a very tight space. Let me double check what this is. Oh yeah, the semiconductor ETF. I also like to use the SOXX. This is kind of the one I like to use. It's maybe a little bit better. And then with SOXX, I like to use the leverage ETF since I trade stocks. I like to use the SOXL. Wow, having a hard time this morning, aren't I? But if we look at the XSD, I would be interesting to see what is in here. What are the components? Because this one really did pull back quite a bit. So it looks a little bit challenged compared to some of the others. But I do think, of course, markets tend to move together and trade together. And I would argue we've been seeing price down, Moxie indicator up right there. And even recently, there's your double bottom and there's your positive divergence. So yes, generally speaking, I would lean to the upside. I think we still have a little bit more shake and bake kind of going on. Probably this week, we have CPI tomorrow. And then I would see if these things can start moving up in that way. As far as NVIDIA, having a hard time with this one. Let me show you kind of some of the things that I've been looking at. I'm having a hard time wanting to like legitimately be long on NVIDIA. I don't think it's going to necessarily roll over and die, but I have a hard time really thinking that there's that much more juice left in NVIDIA up here like that. Because if I look at something like First Solar as an example, it had a similar move. And look what happened after it went up and reached that third ATR. It chopped around for a while and eventually pulled back. And you could even see the same thing here. That was a pretty high extension. And I think CAMT was another one I'm looking at. And look, it's up here too. And I'm not sure that I would be willing to jump in on something like this and say, hey, I think that there's a lot more upside involved. Hey, go for it with the day trading situation. Maybe you can find a couple moves to the upside, but big picture, this doesn't look like something of interest to me. Same thing with AMD, or sorry, with NVIDIA. I would actually rather look at AMD. This looks much more appealing. And you can see the reason also, even according to AMD, like look what happened when it got overbought on the monthly chart. They all pulled back. So I'm just not super thrilled about NVIDIA right here. I'm much more interested in AMD here as it is much more reasonable for its thing. So what I'm hoping is that NVIDIA, if it does move down, doesn't take the entire semiconductor industry with it. It would be nice if maybe it just went sideways and it could allow other things like AMD to play catch up and all that. Yeah, Andy, nice. Okay, so you use Fibonacci levels a lot. You're bad on timing, but good on direction. Okay. Yeah, I honestly I can't tell you too much about that. So as far as timing goes, I like to use kind of market timing. So I like to use put call ratio and I like to use breadth. So those are my timing vehicles to tell me when the tide is going up or going down or likely to change. I've also heard people using arcs and all these other things, but I don't know. Some of these things seem a little mystical to me. So I can't say too much to them. But if you're trying to find something with timing, I don't know. Personally, I think market timing kind of comes down to which way has that pendulum swung as far as overbought and oversold. And if you look at those kind of conditions and indicators, maybe that's something that would help you out. So kind of look that direction. If you have more questions, come on over to the Moxie room, sign up over at simplertrading.com. Of course, here's the plug, but you come over to simplertrading.com/Moxie, $7 dollar trial for 30 days. You can see things that I talk about, how I teach, and maybe you can pick up on a few things that might help you. So, as FOMO Baggins over here in the Moxie room was saying, the Moxie indicators have been a game changer for him when day trading. All right, guys. So I'm going to leave it there. You guys enjoy. We got CPI tomorrow, and then we'll see where the market goes. But yes, I am expecting some sort of pullback in here, and then we'll go from there. All right, everyone. Thanks again, and we'll see you later.